Ladies and gentlemen, how often have we found ourselves in situations, whether at work, in our friendships, or even in our own families, where our efforts, our kindness, our energy, and our love just aren't seen? It feels like we're giving everything we have, yet something is missing respect. We put so much into these relationships, these jobs, these commitments, only to feel drained, overlooked, or worse yet, taken for granted. But here's the truth: you are worthy of being appreciated, seen, and valued. And if you are not receiving that, it might be time to walk away. Let's face it, staying in situations where we're not appreciated is costly. It's not just a small dent in our self-esteem. It's like trying to water a plant that isn't getting sunlight. No matter how much care we give, no matter how much we invest, if the essential elements aren't there, it will never thrive. And neither will you. Now, I know some of you might be thinking, but I can change this, I can fix it. You might even have the hope that by doing more, giving more, it will finally make a difference. But here's the hard truth: self-sacrifice does not lead to self-growth. At some point, the weight of constantly giving without receiving erodes the very thing that makes you you. It's like giving away your own breath until there's nothing left to breathe. So why not walk away? Why not choose to let go of situations where your worth isn't recognized? Walking away isn't giving up, it's stepping into your own power. It's a form of self-respect, a declaration that you value yourself enough to step away from what no longer serves you. Here's what I want you to know: boundaries are not about building walls. They are about honoring your truth, your needs, your essence. Boundaries say, I matter. I am not just here to please you or to serve you. I deserve reciprocity. Setting boundaries isn't always easy, but it's always necessary for our own well-being. But I get it, the fear. Fear of disappointing people, fear of causing conflict, fear of losing something you've invested in. But here's the thing: we are not responsible for others' feelings. We are only responsible for our own. And sometimes the most loving thing we can do, both for ourselves and for others, is to walk away, to step out of a space where we are not truly seen. And yes, walking away is scary. It's uncomfortable. But change is a necessary part of growth. When we walk away from what no longer serves us, we create space for what is truly meant for us, whether it's healthier relationships, more fulfilling work, or simply the peace that comes with knowing we've made a choice that aligns with our true self. I've seen it happen time and time again: people who made the courageous decision to walk away from something that wasn't serving them, and in doing so opened themselves to new possibilities. I know it feels like loss at first, but often loss is just the other side of growth. So I ask you today, when was the last time you truly valued yourself enough to walk away from something that didn't appreciate you? What would it look like to step into your power and say, I am worthy of love, respect, and the space to grow, and then live that truth? Remember, you are enough. You always have been. And if something or someone can't see that, if it's not a place where you feel truly valued, it's okay to walk away. In fact, it's often the most courageous and life-affirming choice you can make. As you leave here today, carry this with you: you are not meant to be a placeholder in anyone else's life. You are not a footnote in a story that doesn't recognize your worth. You are the main character, and you deserve to be in places and with people who understand that. You deserve more. And walking away is the first step in claiming that truth. Thank you. This speech channels a nurturing yet firm message of self-respect and boundaries in a way that encourages empowerment and growth, much like the style of a well-known author who focuses on vulnerability, courage, and the power of self-acceptance. Let me ask you a question: how many times have you found yourself giving everything you have to someone or something, only to feel like you've been taken for granted? It's a feeling we all know too well, whether it's in a relationship, at work, or even in our friendships. You give your time, your energy, your love, and you believe that somehow it will be recognized, that somehow it will be reciprocated. But instead, it feels like you're left standing in the shadows, unnoticed, unheard, unappreciated. What I want to tell you tonight is this: you are worthy. You are worthy of being seen, of being heard, and most importantly, of being valued. This is not negotiable. It's not dependent on how much you give, how much you sacrifice, or how much you do for others. You deserve to be appreciated simply because you exist. And yet, too often we forget this. We forget our worth when it's not reflected back to us in the ways we expect. We find ourselves pouring our hearts into situations, people, or work that drain us, leave us feeling empty, and wonder why we're so exhausted, so unfulfilled. Here's the thing: we are not defined by the recognition of others. Our worth doesn't fluctuate based on someone else's ability to see it. It's innate, it's in our DNA. But when we don't get that affirmation from others, we can begin to question ourselves. We start thinking, maybe I'm not enough, maybe I need to try harder, maybe I need to give more. We've all been there, right? The problem is that the more we give, the less we leave for ourselves, and eventually we find ourselves running on empty, unsure of who we even are anymore. The truth is, we weren't meant to give until there's nothing left of us. We were meant to be in relationships, whether personal or professional, where the energy is exchanged, where respect flows both ways. But sometimes we stay too long in situations where that balance doesn't exist. We make excuses for others. We tell ourselves it's just a phase, or that things will get better with time. We tell ourselves that we're being selfless, that it's noble to give without expecting anything in return. But what we're really doing is diminishing ourselves slowly and steadily, and that's not noble, it's unsustainable. So why do we keep doing it? Why do we stay in places and with people who don't appreciate us? The answer lies in the fear of walking away. We fear disappointment, conflict, and sometimes we fear being alone. We tell ourselves that walking away is a failure, that we're giving up, when in fact, walking away can be one of the most powerful things When we stay in situations where we're not appreciated, it's easy to overlook the silent cost that we pay. We don't always see it in the moment, but it adds up over time, quietly eroding our sense of self-worth and draining our energy. It's like the slow, steady dripping of a faucet, so gentle at first that you hardly notice it, but eventually that drip turns into a flood, filling the emotional reservoir you've been carrying without even realizing it. At first, we tell ourselves that it's not that bad. Maybe I'm overreacting, we think. I can handle this, but each time we give more than we're receiving, each time we sacrifice a little bit of ourselves for someone else's convenience, we chip away at our own peace. We might justify it, thinking that it's just a temporary phase, that things will change. We hope that the love, the recognition, the appreciation will come in time. But the truth is, the longer we stay in these situations, the more we risk losing a piece of ourselves, pieces we may never get back. This is the silent cost of staying, the loss of your energy, your joy, your passion. It's the loss of your own voice in a world that already has enough noise. It's the way you start to doubt your worth, questioning if you're asking for too much when you're only asking to be seen, to be valued, to be appreciated for the person you are, not just for what you do. You start to wonder if maybe you're not good enough, not worthy of the love or respect you long for. You question your own needs, telling yourself that they are too much, too demanding, too selfish. And yet, there's a quiet devastation that comes with this. You may find that you've stopped doing things that once brought you joy, things that made you feel alive. You might even find yourself dreading certain conversations, avoiding people who once felt like your safe space. You push down your desires, your dreams, your ambitions, convincing yourself that it's easier to conform, to fit into a box that doesn't quite suit you. You settle for less because you don't believe you deserve more. And that is the greatest cost of all, the slow surrender of who you truly are, just to fit into a place where you don't belong. Staying when we're not appreciated doesn't just affect us emotionally either. It seeps into every area of our lives, affecting our mental health, our physical well-being, and our ability to show up fully in the world. How can you pour? There's a dangerous myth we've all been told, a lie that many of us have internalized and lived by for far too long, that true love, true dedication, true worth is found in self-sacrifice. We've been conditioned to believe that to be valuable, we must give, give, and give, even when it feels like there's nothing left to give. We're told that if we really care about someone, if we truly love, if we're truly committed to a cause, then we must put ourselves last, as though our needs, our desires, our well-being are secondary to everything else. And so we sacrifice, we put aside our own needs, sometimes without even realizing it, and we offer ourselves up as martyrs to the world. We say yes when we want to say no. We give time we don't have and energy we can't spare in the hopes that somehow it will make a difference. We believe that by disappearing, by making ourselves small, by playing the part of the selfless one, we'll be loved in return, we'll be seen, we'll be validated. But here's the truth: self-sacrifice doesn't lead to self-fulfillment. It leads to exhaustion, resentment, and disillusionment. It's a false promise that leaves us empty and wondering why, despite all we've given, we still feel unseen, unloved, and unimportant. The more we sacrifice, the more we lose ourselves in the process. We may gain approval, we may earn praise, but we lose the essence of who we are. The danger of self-sacrifice is that it distorts our understanding of love and connection. We begin to believe that in order to be loved, we must first give everything we have until there's nothing left for ourselves. We believe that the act of selflessness is noble, but in reality it's unsustainable. We've all seen it happen: people who give and give until they burn out, until they're no longer able to function, let alone offer love or care to anyone else. And yet we keep pushing ourselves to the limit, thinking that somehow we can continue to give without consequence. The truth is that when we constantly put ourselves last, we are teaching others that our needs don't matter. We're telling the world that we are expendable, that our time, our energy, our emotions are disposable. And while this may feel like the noble thing to do in the moment, it's actually a form of self-neglect. It's an act of. Walking away is often seen as a sign of weakness, a step backward, or a surrender. We've been conditioned to believe that to be strong, to be committed, to be worthy, we must endure, we must fight through the discomfort, the unappreciation, the disrespect. The idea of walking away, whether from a relationship, a job, or a situation that no longer serves us, can feel like a failure, like we're giving up, like we're somehow less than. But here's the truth that so many of us forget: walking away is one of the most powerful, courageous things we can do for ourselves. It takes an immense amount of strength to walk away from something or someone that we thought would bring us fulfillment, happiness, or love. The truth is, walking away is not about quitting, it's about reclaiming your power, your dignity, your peace. It's about honoring yourself enough to say, I will no longer allow myself to be in a place that diminishes me. It's a declaration that your worth is not negotiable, that your time and energy are sacred, and that you are worthy of being in spaces where you are truly seen and appreciated. Walking away requires an incredible amount of courage, not because it's easy, but because it's uncomfortable. It forces us to face our fears. The fear of being alone, the fear of disappointing others, the fear of the unknown. We wonder, what will people think? What if I regret this? What if I'm making a mistake? These are the questions that paralyze us, that make us second-guess ourselves. But the real question is this: what will happen if you stay? What will happen if you keep sacrificing yourself for someone or something that isn't reciprocating? What will happen if you continue to pour from an empty cup? If you continue to shrink yourself in order to fit into a place where you're not truly wanted or valued? Valued? The cost of staying in a situation where we aren't appreciated is high, and it isn't always visible right away. It's not just the loss of time or the drain on our energy, it's the slow erosion of our self-esteem, our joy, our sense of possibility. It's the way we start to question our worth, to question whether we're enough, and to question whether we even deserve better. And that is a much higher price to pay than the discomfort that comes with walking away. When you walk away, you are choosing to honor yourself. You are choosing to believe that you are deserving of respect, of kindness, of the very things you give to others without question. It's an act of self-respect, a refusal to allow yourself to stay in a situation that no longer nurtures you, that no longer aligns with the person you are becoming. It's an affirmation that you will not stay in places that diminish your light, that take more than they give, or that cause you to lose sight of your own worth. But walking away isn't just about escaping what no longer serves you, it's about creating space. Boundaries are often misunderstood. We tend to think of them as walls that separate us from others, as if drawing a line in the sand will push people away or cause conflict. But in reality, boundaries are not walls, they are acts of self-love. They are a way to protect and nurture the most precious thing we have, ourselves. When we set boundaries, we are not rejecting the world, we are embracing our own right to peace, to joy, to respect. And in doing so, we create the space to show up as our truest, most authentic selves. When we think about love, we often think about how much we're willing to give to others, how far we'll go to make them happy, to keep them comfortable, to keep the peace. But real love, self-love, isn't about what we give until there's nothing left for ourselves. It's about knowing where our limits are and having the courage to honor them even when it's difficult. It's about saying, I am worthy of respect and I will not allow myself to be treated in a way that diminishes me. And that can be one of the most radical acts of love we can perform for ourselves and for those around us. Setting boundaries is not about being harsh or unkind. It's about being clear and honest about what we need in order to feel safe, valued, and cared for. It's about taking ownership of our own emotional, mental, and physical well-being and refusing to let anyone or anything violate that space. Boundaries tell the world, I respect myself, and because I respect myself, I am asking for respect in return. They're a declaration that we are not willing to tolerate less than we deserve, not because we're being selfish, but because we understand that self-respect is the foundation of all healthy relationships. For many of us, though, setting boundaries feels uncomfortable. We fear that if we say no, people will think we're difficult, unkind, or unloving. We fear disappointing others or causing conflict or perhaps even losing relationships altogether. But here's the truth: the discomfort we feel when we set a boundary is nothing compared to the long-term damage we inflict on ourselves when we don't. Every time we allow ourselves to be overextended, overburdened, or disrespected, we are teaching others that our needs don't matter. And we are teaching ourselves that we are not worth the care and attention we deserve. Setting boundaries isn't about pushing people away, it's about allowing the right people to come closer. It's about showing up as our full, authentic selves and inviting others to do the same. It's about being clear about who we are, what we need, and what we will and won't tolerate. And when we do this, we create the conditions for relationships that are healthy, balanced, and fulfilling. Relationships where both people can thrive, not just survive. But it's not just about our relationships with others. Setting boundaries is also a way of loving ourselves by giving ourselves the space to grow, to rest, to heal, and to be. It's about protecting our time and our energy, ensuring that we don't run on empty. When we don't set boundaries, we end up giving so much of ourselves to others that we forget who we are and what we need. We become burnt out, resentful, and disconnected, not just from others, but from ourselves. Boundaries are the way we say to ourselves, you are worth protecting, you are worth prioritizing, you are worth the space to exist fully, to be whole, to thrive. It's important to remember that boundaries don't just exist in the context of relationships with others. They also apply to the relationship we have with ourselves. When we set boundaries with our own thoughts, with our own inner critic, with our own expectations, we're doing the work of self-love. We're saying, I will not let negativity, doubt, or fear define me. I will not let the world's expectations or standards make me shrink. I will not let the chaos of the world rob me of my peace. In doing so, we create the space for our true selves to emerge, for our passions to come alive, for our dreams to be pursued without guilt or shame. And the beauty of setting boundaries is that it ripples outward. When we begin to practice self-love through boundaries, we create a model for others to do the same. We teach the people in our lives that it's okay to take care of themselves, to say no when they need to, and to honor their own needs. In that way, setting boundaries becomes a gift not just for ourselves, but for everyone around us. It creates a culture of mutual respect, where everyone's needs are valued, everyone's peace is prioritized, and no one has to sacrifice themselves in order to belong. So I encourage you to redefine what boundaries mean for you. See them not as limitations, but as invitations to love yourself more deeply, to honor your own needs, to preserve your peace. You are worthy of that love, and the more you practice it, the more the world will reflect it back to you. Because the truth is, when we learn to love and respect ourselves, we give others permission to do the same. And that, my friends, is where true connection begins. As we close today, I want you to remember one simple truth: you are worthy of being seen, valued, and respected, not because of what you give, but because of who you are. Every step you take toward walking away from what doesn't appreciate you, toward setting boundaries that protect your peace, is a step toward claiming the life you deserve. It's not easy, and it's not always comfortable, but it is always necessary. When you choose to honor yourself, you not only preserve your own well-being, but you also create the space for healthier, more authentic connections with others. And in doing so, you teach the world that self-love is not selfish, it's the foundation of everything that is truly meaningful and fulfilling. So, as you leave here today, I invite you to ask yourself, what will I choose to walk away from? What boundaries will I set to protect my own peace? And most importantly, how can I love myself enough to give myself what I truly deserve? You have everything within you to create a life that is aligned with your worth. And every moment you choose to walk in that truth, you are becoming the best version of yourself. You are deserving of love, respect, and appreciation, and the most powerful thing you can do is to start believing it for yourself and for everyone around you. Thank you.